This episode of the Model 3 Owners Club podcast is brought to you by Duliban Insurance. If you live in Ontario, Canada, and are looking for the best price and coverage on your Tesla, give Duliban a call at 1-855-385-4226 or visit our website at dulibaninsurance.com/Tesla. Eric's on a roll. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again. It's time for another Model 3 Owners Club podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Page, and I'm also joined by my good friends, Eric Camacho and Ian Pavelko. Gentlemen, good evening. We got so much to talk about tonight. I hope everyone's in good health.
Do we ever? What happened today?
Oh my gosh, what a day.
Where to begin? I
think, well, obviously we had some subjects we were going to talk about tonight, including the SEC. We had a fantastic show title, but obviously we can't use it tonight because the bigger news, of course, is the standard range Model 3 is now finally available to order. But so much has changed on this, so we have to literally unpack it. So I thought it would be a better place for me to read Tesla's blog post that they posted today, just to kind of set the framework here. So let me just zoom in here. So this is basically almost verbatim here. We are incredibly excited to announce that the standard Model 3 with 220 miles of range, that's 352 kilometers, a top speed of 130 miles per hour, 208 kilometers per hour, and a 0 to 60 miles per hour acceleration of 5.6 seconds is now available at $35,000 or $47,600 Canadian. I should mention the standard range Model 3 is only available in Canada, or basically North America right now. So Europe is not available yet. So I would suspect that will be just a few more months. Anyways, moving along. In addition, we are introducing the Model 3 Standard Range Plus, which offers 240 miles of range, a top speed of 140 miles per hour, 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, and most premium interior features at $37,000 before incentive. That's US dollars. For 6% more money, you get 9% more range, more power, and an upgraded interior. Good on Tesla trying to push those margins up a little bit. Okay, moving on. To achieve these prices while remaining financially sustainable, and this is a big one here, Tesla is shifting sales worldwide to online only. You can now buy a Tesla in North America with your via your phone in about 1 minute, and that capability will soon be extended worldwide. We're also making it much easier to try out and return a Tesla so that a test drive prior to purchase isn't needed. You can now return a car within 7 days or 1,000 miles, 1,600 kilometers, for a full refund. While quite literally, you could buy a Tesla, drive several hundred miles for a weekend road trip with friends, and then return the car for free with the highest consumer satisfaction score of any car on the road, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to finish that here. So here's the big bit here. Shifting all sales online combined with other ongoing cost efficiencies will enable us to lower all vehicle prices by about 6% on average, allowing us to achieve the $35,000 Model 3 price point earlier than we expected. Over the next few months, we will be winding down many of our stores with a small number of stores and high traffic locations remaining as galleries, showcases, and Tesla information centers. The important thing for customers in the United States to understand is that with online sales, anyone can quickly and easily buy a Tesla. At the same time, we will be increasing our investment in the Tesla service system with the goal of same day, if not same hour service, and with most service done by us coming to you rather than you coming to us. Moreover, we guarantee service availability anywhere in the country in which we operate. We're also excited, and this is the last paragraph, we're also excited to announce that we're implementing a number of firmware upgrades for both new and existing customers. These upgrades will increase the range of the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 to 325 miles, up from, 310? Increase the top speed of the Model 3 performance to 162 miles per hour and add an average approximately 5% peak power to all Model 3 vehicles. That is the blog post. So having said that, there is so much to discuss here and unpack. We need to start somewhere. So where do you guys think we should start? Sorry about the long-winded one, but
I will. So my immediate reaction to the news today was, holy cow! Like I don't think a lot of us really expected.
Was that really the word you used?
No, I don't think so. Knowing Eric, no.
This is a safe show. So again, if we were snacking somewhere, that'd be totally something different. But no, in all seriousness, I did not expect this amount of news to come from Tesla today. I think there were a lot of rumors out there that the Model 3 standard range would be announced, which, some people suspected would be right. Others sort of downplayed it. I think Trevor, our esteemed host of this show, mentioned on Twitter, I think it was yesterday or on Tuesday, that his expectation was we'd hear about Autopilot Hardware 3. And in some regard, we did get some news of that today. But ideally, this is a game changer for many things. So first, it's for those people who've been asking us almost every week during viewer questions, hey, when's the standard range Model 3 coming out? Well, now we know it's now, and those deliveries are going to start in earnest in the next 2 to 4 weeks. The next thing really is the more, I want to say more sorrowful part of this release today, which is the effect it's going to have on the employees that work for Tesla. It's no secret that I used to work for Tesla, so I certainly can and can't say certain things. But in general, I still have friends who work for Tesla, and I do now wonder what their long-term future is with the company. Now, I'm hopeful, we don't know because a blog post doesn't allude to this, I'm hopeful that Tesla will find some way to realign their business model so that these folks who are talented, intelligent people and are very beneficial to the company can find some roles that best fit them, whether it's service centers, whether it's more of technology based with developers or whatever it might be. I'm hoping a lot of them can find some way to stay working for the company. I mentioned before the show started taping that we're seeing a lot of online merchants. We're seeing the Amazons and the Wayfairs and so many other companies are going to an e-commerce platform, not having storefronts, not having the old brick and mortar sort of thing. And Tesla years ago used to be mostly showrooms where there was showing you the products. You couldn't do test drives there. It was more of an information center. So they're going back to their roots, really focusing on their online presence. But again, I think there's some cost to that, and I'm kind of curious how it's going to play out in the weeks and months ahead. But for now, it's still a lot of positive news with all the different options for the Model 3. We're going to dive into the different configurations and the price points and stuff. This also benefits some of those who are waiting for the tax credit here in the U.S. You can actually get your vehicle a little bit sooner than expected. So it's a day of positive news. But again, I also see the downside to some of this as well.
Yeah, there's some little bittersweet parts in there, that's for sure.
Correct.
Okay, well put, Eric. Thank you for outlining that. We'll have more to say about that as we go, obviously. I think it's important for us to maybe just take a couple of minutes here. Let's just dive into the configurator. Ian, did you want to say anything before we get in, or are we just going to get into this?
No, I think Eric's comments fully capture the global effect on the organization. I mean, me personally, as I'm hearing all this, I'm thinking, oh my God, all that wonderful staff at the Montreal store who are so incredible. They're just like the most amazing people I've ever dealt with in the automotive community, and I feel the same way.
Yeah,
I really hope that they all land in the right spot, and they can realign themselves with whatever the new mission is. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the bittersweet part for me. The rest to me is 99% great news. I mean, especially as Jeremy Clarkson would say, more power.
Of course.
I'm very excited about that. But Trev, let's try and keep it on track. There's a lot to go through. I'm going to let you maestro the whole thing, and I'll put in my 2 cents as we go, because
he's still trying to figure it all out. We're getting news by the hour.
My head has been spinning for the last 2 hours. I mean, between trying to get this information sorted out, trying to figure out what we're going to talk about tonight, answering tweets that have been like, my phone was literally getting hot. Now it's cool now, but it was crazy. Anyway, so having said that, let's just dive into the configurator. I'm going to bring this up here real quick so everybody can see it. So I'm on the U.S. site right now, so everything you're going to see here is in U.S. dollars. So if you have a look here, you'll see that I've picked the standard range in the lower left-hand corner. Disregard the silly after savings amount, but there is your fabled $35,000 right there. So finally, they're able to do it. However, there are some caveats here. So the first thing we need to look at here is just click on the standard interior and just have a look and see what the standard interior includes. Manual seats and steering adjustment. So we kind of expected that. That's something that I disclosed in a video that I did about 2 weeks ago based on some information, insider tips that I got. Cloth seats and a base trim, expected that. Basic audio, yes. Standard maps and navigation still included. A center console with storage and 4 USB ports. So, speaking of which, let's bring up a picture. This is what the new console looks like on the standard interior. So it doesn't look bad, but it definitely jives with what my source told me, that there would no longer be covers or a phone dock in this car. However, aren't we all glad that our hashtag glass for all,
baby,
it's still there. So we still, let me bring that back up again. Yes, everyone, the glass roof is indeed included on all Tesla Model 3s, including the standard car. So the rumor that was going around that was possibility of being covered with a headliner is dead. It's gone. We have definite confirmation now. I'm so happy about this.
Notice in the imaging, though, you don't see the wood grain on the dash.
Yes, well, we kind of expected that I mean,
Right.
Based on the performance Model 3 with the white interior, that they would change the trim appropriately to color match. I'm still disappointed that they're still using the light-colored headliner, but hey, it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers. All right, let's go back to these specs here a little bit. Let's go down to the second one here, because if you pick the second model here, they have the Standard Range Plus, which they alluded to, of course, in their blog post now. So the base price is $37,000 US. The partial premium interior adds a 12-way power adjustable heated front seats, premium seat material and trim, an upgraded audio, immersive sound, standard maps and navigation, LED fog lamps, center console storage with 4 USB ports, and the docking for the smartphone. So basically, it's still the standard interior we have now. Minus, of course, they don't have the heated rear seats. The premium interior still retains the 12-way power adjustable front and rear seats, rear heated seats, the premium auto 14 speakers, 1 subwoofer, 2 amps, immersive sound, satellite view maps with live traffic visualization and navigation. Now, we knew that was something that was being taken away on the other ones because you had to pay the fee,
Right.
I think, right? So
Correct.
Yeah. So the in-car internet streaming music and media is included. The internet browser is included. Location-aware automatic garage door opener is included. We knew that. LED fog lamps, that's one that's not included on the base trim on the standard, but it is on the partial and the premium. And, of course, the center console. All interiors, here it is in black and white, folks. The tinted glass roof with ultraviolet and infrared protection is standard. Auto-dimming power folding.
Hallelujah!
Thank you. Now, here's one that interests because my source told me that the auto-dimming power folding and heated side mirrors would not be on the standard interior car. So either it was a last change or I was fed some bad information. Hey, it happens once in a while, but such is life when you get tips. Anyway, music, media over Bluetooth, good to know. Custom driver profiles included. So, right. So that's what that's all about. Now, if we move on to the second page of the configurator, let's look at the exterior. Nothing's changed. You got your standard colors. Glad to see that colors haven't changed quite yet. I think it's a little overdue, but again, the price changes haven't gone anywhere. So it's standard of $1,500, $2,000 for white, and the multi-coat red is still $25. Still have your wheels, 18 and 19-inch wheels on the standard car, of course. So when you go to the performance car, so if you go to performance and you go to exterior, you can now pick a few more options, including the performance upgrade, and you get the 20-inch wheels as standard. So let's just go back here to the standard range. Let's build a car here. Let's have some fun. So solid black, 18-inch aero wheels. Of course, here is your interior. Again, on the standard interior on the car, there is no option for white. You must pick at least, I think it is is it the Standard Range Plus? I forget. Yeah, Standard Range Plus. You can opt for the white interior for $1,000 more. That's a pretty good deal. Let's go back to Standard Range. Sorry about all the hopping around. I'm just trying to look at all the variations here. Moving along. Okay, Autopilot. Here's the big one. We need to take a couple minutes and talk about Autopilot. I'm just going to quickly go down this, and we're going to deep dive into this a little bit. So Autopilot's been rejiggered. It is no longer called Enhanced Autopilot. They have 2 layers. They have Autopilot and full self-driving capability. And this one has been very confusing on the internet today. Over Twitter, everybody's been flipping out about this. So basically, Autopilot now is a $3,000 option, or $4,000 if you add it after delivery. It used to be $5,000. So this basically gives you the traffic-aware cruise control and the auto steer. However, navigate on Autopilot The automatic parking and summon have now been pulled out and pushed off into full self-driving. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but that's what's coming. That's what full self-driving now gives you. And coming later this year, recognizing and responding to traffic lights and stop signs and automatic driving on city streets. That is $5,000 or a $7,000 premium if you purchase it after delivery. So let's talk about Autopilot a little bit because this is this is crazy. Right. So just going back a little bit, just to clarify once more, that Enhanced Autopilot was the basic Autopilot that you paid for before, and it was $5,000 US. Mm-hmm. And it included basically everything that we just delineated, except for the stuff coming later this year that's now part of the full self-driving. I always felt that previous to today's announcement, that if you looked at Enhanced Autopilot and you looked at full self-driving, the delineation as to what am I paying this extra for full self-driving, when a lot of this stuff just seems to be bundled into Enhanced Autopilot. And it was just like, I don't think Tesla got a lot of uptake on that because there was just no intrinsic value. A, because A, it wasn't ready, and B, there's just like, what features am I getting? It can basically drive itself almost. I mean, you got to be careful about what you say about that, but in the general public's mind, that's what they're thinking. I always thought that they would probably either do one of two things. One, they would just get rid of full self-driving and everything would just be EAP or Autopilot in general, or they would eventually rejigger this a little bit to make it, more separation or dumb it down in some way or shape or form. And that's precisely what they've done now. They've actually rejiggered it. I like the pricing that they've done on the basic Autopilot functions. So you get traffic-aware cruise control, you get your auto steer for a reasonable price. However, again, it's Tesla trying to push margins again, trying to push some of that extra stuff, navigate on Autopilot, Auto Park, and Summon, now onto full self-driving. So other than the end game on full self-driving, you're basically going to be spending $8,000 anyways. So what is that? It's a $3,000 premium over what people were paying before. All right, guys, it's time to jump in here. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm sort of with you on the confusion that came out with the Autopilot.
Oh, it gets better. It gets better. Sorry.
It does get better. So if I'm jumping ahead, I do apologize.
That's okay.
So I'm going to just stick with what the site says now, and we'll let you sort of take reins on what how it affects those who are grandfathered in, as we call it. So I think the separation and sort of clearing that line a bit further of really enticing people with spending the $5,000 for full self-driving, especially when you want to take advantage of some of those benefits, is really advantageous for those who really want to get that. That being said, it does help to delineate what Autopilot is. Now, there are still going to be some people out there who go, well, I hear Autopilot. Doesn't that mean the car drives itself? I mean, if you have a plane on Autopilot, there's nobody sitting in the seat. Why would the car not do the same thing? So it's really just helping to explain to somebody, here's what Autopilot really does. And I think their website now makes it very clear what it is. There are some nice benefits for it. It's going to do some great things on the highway. But ideally, it is not a sit behind the wheel, push a button, and then just kind of take a nap in your car. It's not level 5 autonomy. It also now encourages people to look at the list and go, you know what? I do want my car to be able to park itself. I live in an area where it snows a lot. I live in a place where it's very, wet, like here in South Florida. It rains all the time. How great would it be you walk into a mall and it's a nice day and you walk outside going, oh my gosh, it's pouring rain. I don't have an umbrella. Well, now the car can come get me. So there's some cool stuff coming, and I know they're going to, and really the big thing for me, the thing I'm looking forward to seeing in the real world experience is how it recognizes traffic lights and stop signs. Like, that's a huge thing that's coming out this year. Like, we've talked in the past about when we think full self-driving will be available for people to use it because it's got to go through regulatory approval and all that sort of stuff. But no, we're going to see real-world vehicles driving on the streets now in the coming months that can stop at a traffic light, which is just incredible. So I'll sort of pass the baton to Ian to see what his thoughts are. But I mean, that's sort of what I think is the great takeaway from this before we get into those who are grandfathered.
Yeah, well, I mean, my first takeaway on it is it's nice to see the basic Autopilot price come down, because there were a lot of us who were sort of on the fence whether to buy Autopilot at all or not. I was one of those people because I'm a very hands-on driver, and as incredible as the technology is, I'm thinking, well, am I going to get that much use out of it day to day? The thing I really wanted, like so many people out there, is traffic-aware cruise. I think that's a great feature, and the only way to get it up until now has been with EAP. But now that they've repositioned the pricing on it, I think it makes total and complete sense. So that, I think, as Trevor and you've both said, I think, the low price point for getting basic Autopilot, as we're going to call it, is perfect. And now it's a bigger step up to full self-driving. But as we know, there's very tangible benefits attached to it now, and that's only going to get better. Where I'm very curious is what happens to us in the middle with, what was EAP or more full-featured Autopilot, for lack of a better term, and some of the stuff it does. Like, it sounds like we're going to be able to navigate on Autopilot, which is cool. And I'm very, very most curious to know what happens with Summon, because are we going to get the fancy park-it-yourself full jam Summon, or are we going to just get the it drives forward, it drives backwards Summon? How is that? That's my biggest question mark at this point. As someone who paid the big ticket price for EAP, I would really like to have at least the park-it itself. I'd be thrilled if we got that. I don't expect anything else. If that's the end of development for us, I'd be super thrilled. But I'd be a little bummed if we didn't get it. I got to be honest.
Which brings me to the talk about whether some of us are grandfathered or not. And someone on Twitter specifically asked that question to Elon on Twitter. I'll bring up the screen here so you can see what we're talking about. Someone named Nathan said, I have the same question. There'd be no way they'd take away my Navigate on Autopilot. Maybe future EAP cars will not have it, but ours is grandfathered in. Who knows? Elon responded, everyone who bought Enhanced Autopilot will get Navigate on Autopilot on highways, Advanced Summon, and Auto Park. So there's your answer.
Woo!
We are grandfathered.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yes, exactly.
I am very, very, very happy.
Yes. So we are grandfathered.
All right.
We spent the money. Speaking of which, while Eric was talking, I just logged into my Tesla account, just on the off chance. I'm just curious to see. So here's my Model X. I scroll down to the bottom. I can still purchase full self-driving for the low price of $6,600 Canadian plus tax. So it ain't cheap, but I don't have to pay the exorbitant after-purchase price. Well, that is the exorbitant after-purchase price anyways, right. But they didn't rejigger it on my account. Of course, just so you know, the price of full self-driving capability, my camera just blew up. Sorry about that.
Were you going to say that it includes the cost of the hardware that's necessary for full self-driving?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I was saying.
Look at that.
Yes. Sorry about that. I'm just going to bring this back here. My camera just died on me. And then, so now we're back in business. Sorry about that. Always have backups, right? Okay. So, yes. So whether you need the hardware upgrade or not, it is included in the price. So they're kind of covering themselves. Now, as we spoke about on the podcast last week, we know roughly that less than about 5% of people actually purchased full self-driving. Tesla being Tesla, they want to push margins and they want to push more people into full self-driving so that the time comes, they're ready to go. Now, having said that, because of the price that they're advertising now, plus the stuff that they're putting into Enhanced Autopilot, I got to stop saying that, full self-driving now, leads me to believe that cars going into production now, and that includes S's and X's, already include this hardware. I think it includes a hardware. If not, it'll be a retrofit after the fact anyway. So I'm hoping for the former, expecting the latter. So, we still got to talk about this Autopilot thing because there's still some confusion. Now, I had somebody, and I don't know whether I should repeat this or not, but someone did reach out to me, and I have not been able to verify. I don't know. What do you guys think? I told you before the show.
I would say if we can't verify it, let's not put it out there.
Okay, let's not put it out there. Okay, so we'll wait for confirmation. I was given a bit of information. It looks encouraging, but until I verify it or otherwise, Eric's right. I shouldn't say anything. So we'll just leave that.
And I think we've also encountered, like with Elon's Twitter feed this afternoon, there's only 4 replies he's given since this announcement was made earlier today.
And I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, so I mean, we already showed one of them. There were a couple questions about the upcoming release that's forthcoming as it relates to the additional mileage, which we alluded to at the start of the show, among some other things. But part of it is also there's going to be a power increase by about 5%. We're going to see some improvements in the vehicles and stuff like that. So he answered two questions regarding that as far as the date of that. So right now the tentative date for that wide release is March 15th. So we're looking a little over 2 weeks from today, almost 2.5 weeks.
That's true, yeah.
Then there was a question that was asked in terms of how do we handle those who did the post-purchase upgrade for full self-driving for $5,000 with those of hardware AP version 2 or 2.5. So he said, we'll do something. We'll talk to our team and we'll get back to those who did it. So there's still a lot of questions unanswered, and I think it's good that he's taking this reception from today's news and trying to, ideally, on a customer service perspective, figure out what's the course of action that's going to really apply some remedies that apply to most people who are grandfathered in, we'll use that term again, or have some unique circumstances for recent orders because they feel like, hey, I just got this order in 2 weeks ago, or it took my car delivery a month ago, or whatever it is. How can you do right by us? Mm-hmm. I don't think they're going to obviously do something that's globally going to fix every problem that people are going to complain about, but it does beg the question: what sort of things are still forthcoming? So the point of all of that is the news that you've been given wind of late this evening. It could be something that materializes. There could be things that still change until all is said and done. We've seen Tesla make an announcement and then in short order add to it, change something, do something else. It's par for the course with Tesla, but I would say once we have secondary confirmation, and if it's something that we can share with you guys on Twitter or through some other medium, we'll be happy to pass it along.
Yeah. Just to bring up the tweet again that you were alluding to here. So Joe Sunday was asking on Twitter, what about honoring the post-purchase price of FSD for $5,000 on AP2 2.5 cars? Referring to the hardware, of course. Elon responded, I think we should do something here. I'll talk to the team and send out a note in the next few days. So Tesla does have a history of goodwill on things like price changes, honoring prices and stuff like that. So we'll have to wait and see what kind of sunset clause they give on that when the time comes. But it's encouraging, and it could tie in with what I was being told. So, like I said, we'll have to wait and see on what's happening on that. So, yeah, it's looking encouraging as far as the Autopilot thing is concerned. Ian, I'm guessing, after your trip from Florida and stuff, you certainly enjoyed it and got to use it quite a bit. So I'm sure you're happy to be grandfathered in, as I am, of course, and Eric, of course. So
yeah, very much so. Especially with when you talk about the nav on Autopilot, that's a terrific feature in and of itself. Yeah. And I mean, any time now, I imagine the next few weeks we're going to see the confirmation required for lane change disappear, where it's going to do it all itself, and then it's going to feel, pretty close to FSD. You're still going to have to keep your eye on the ball, of course, but
So Elon did allude in a tweet here, and I might as well just bring it up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Keep jumping back and forth, but here it is anyways. Someone named Anner on Twitter said, when is the no confirmation Navigate on Autopilot coming out? Elon said it's scheduled for March 15th release, along with many other improvements. Let's just see if there's any more replies under here. He's been pretty quiet, all things considered, today, considering the news.
Yeah.
So,
I think he's been pretty busy today.
Oh, yes, I would imagine so. Yeah. So there's quite a bit of stuff coming. Later on, I did see that the uncorking, as they've talked about it, is supposed to be rolled in with that update as well. So this range increase on the long-range Model 3 and the increase on the top speed of the Performance Model 3, as well as the 5% peak improvement on all the cars, is going to be part of this roll-up. So basically another couple of weeks away. And Jay Pace, if you're listening, you can stop tweeting Elon about uncorking your car. Okay? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Jay's not going to be happy because we don't have an actual button that says
Uncork.
ridiculous.
Ridiculous mode. Yes, that's what he's asking.
Jay will not rest until it says ridiculous, and I'm with him on that.
I'm just looking forward to getting an extra 2% of battery on my car.
Your car's going to have range, like you're going to go weeks without charging the bloody thing now. I mean, the LR range is going to be out of sight. And actually, let me take this moment to point something out.
Sure.
When I first saw that, I thought all they were doing was, in order to sort of justify the higher price of the LR and kind of give a little extra added value, was now publicize what the EPA claimed the car was capable of all along. The more astute or deep dive readers, listeners out there, watchers, would know that when the EPA tested the 3 long-range rear-wheel drive, the actual rating was 328 miles as the combined rating, and Tesla said, no, we want you to put it out at 310. And then, of course, the reason they wanted that is they wanted uniformity. So any version long range, whether it was a dual motor, a performance, or just a rear-wheel drive, they all had 310 rated range. But we know from real-world testing, and I mean just our run up to the Space Center when we were all down in Florida, I can tell you there's a huge difference in consumption between the dual motor car and and the rear-wheel drive. So there's, on paper, on the EPA tests, it goes 8% farther if it's just a rear-wheel drive. So now with the unlock, they're claiming 325. I think in reality, it's more like 343. And as we were saying before we started recording the show, one of the theories that Eric and I kicked around as well, are they really sandbagging the numbers still in order not to dethrone the Range King, which is the Model S 100D? But I'll tell you, if you were to put them to the test and drive them down the highway, it's going to be the uncorked 3LR. This thing is going to do 340 something miles if driven like to the wire.
Give me that car! Come on!
You're going to get it.
I know.
I did.
Oh, by the way, while we're taping the show, Elon just tweeted. Nothing fancy, nothing special, nothing really great. Just noting that exact Tesla Model 3 in my profile pic costs $35,000 before incentives and takes 1 minute to buy online at Tesla.com.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Well, it's funny because
I was going to say, the one thing I would say that some people are going to be not too happy about, and I'm saying this in some of the comments to his tweets, is some people are saying my car now costs A, but I paid B for the car. And the one thing I want to tell people, keep in mind, people are not getting $7,500 in federal tax incentives right now. If you took advantage of that in 2018, you're actually offsetting that price difference. In some cases, you're still banking more money than if you were to buy the car today. So I'm among those. Believe me, I am with you, audience. I understand that this is sort of kind of a thing that's annoying, but we've seen price. I mean, Trevor said 1,000 times, both in his own YouTube videos and then also on our show, if you see something and you like it, get it, because tomorrow it can change.
And on that, he's not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
Right, yes. He's been right about that all along.
Exactly.
But there are so many people who, I mean, we have Kim and our friend Bonnie and so many other fans of the show that are ardent supporters of Tesla all say the same thing, like, this stuff happens all the time. It's not to make a big fuss about. It'd be one thing if the car went from $45,000 to all of a sudden $28,000. Like, yes, you have a reason for complaint.
The S and the X's, I mean, that happened to those cars. They got rid of the 75 kilowatt hour battery.
No, and honestly, let's not forget that they play this game all the time within the ICE industry. I mean, how often does a new model come out and within year 2, year 3, they're discounting the crap out of them? There's volume incentives, there's volume rebates, end of year specials. I mean, the cars drop like crazy. I've seen some major pickup trucks drop $10,000-$15,000 off MSRP when they're trying to unload them. So let's not pretend that this doesn't happen elsewhere.
Well, not only that, you might see like an advertisement for a car for like $32,000. You go to the lot. Well, that's not the car they have at that location. Maybe the one they advertised was the only one they had. But you're finding one that's got. You have one there that has decals on it, and it's got all kinds of new carpets, and that car has got a $2,200 convenience package, and now that car's $41,000, and you're like, well, wait a minute.
Don't forget the window etching for the security and
look at this amazing color hunter green we have. Isn't that nice?
Maybe in 1992.
Well, I saw somebody, who was it? I think somebody had a Model S that they did a hunter green wrap on. I was like, no thanks. I'm good.
Yeah, maybe brown. Brown's coming back. Brown is, Tesla discontinued brown maybe a little too soon, because I'm seeing it on a lot of high-end premium cars and various. Anyways, but this is not a discussion about colors today. Yes. So much stuff.
We're missing the boat on possibly the biggest story tonight. There's so much news. Let's take a moment to celebrate the fact that our brethren who have all been waiting for getting on 3 years for the $35,000 car are about to get it. I am so excited for all of you. who have been waiting so patiently.
Yes.
A special shout out to Mad Obadia, who just messaged me. He'd ordered his car tonight. He went for the
All right.
Oh, congratulations, Matt.
Yeah, the next one up. Yeah,
Congrats,
I mean, you
Matt.
know, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of you that I imagine are pressing the config button as we speak. It's like, you must be so stoked.
Speaking of which,
Oh, the site was so slow today. I thought I was using a dial-up connection.
I almost felt like telling people, like, get off of Twitter, get off the website so I can go look at something. I have to prep for a podcast. Anyways, yes, speaking of pressing the order button, I had to break the news to my wife tonight that the $35,000 car was available. And she just kind of went, She didn't say anything, so no news. No news yet. Well, I have to sit down with her and see what she wants to do. But now that it's available,
and knock some sense into some people.
Yeah, we need an intervention. I'm coming up there right now. Give me about 6 hours.
she's a penny pincher like you've never seen, so you will have to wait and see. So no, I definitely broke the news to her today and let her know. So the ball's in her court, like I said. You know, as we've been saying for a long time. The Model X is mine. The Model 3 standard range car is something for my wife. I cannot afford a second car. Although I was looking at the price today, I was like, man, that looks pretty good. But what the hell am I going to do with a second car? Anyways, that's just me. Moving along.
Oh, you mean a Roadster?
well, that's a different...
I was going to say third or fourth car, technically.
That's a different matter altogether. I'll believe it when I see it. FineLab has a line of protective coatings that were engineered to protect your Tesla's paint, leather, carpet, plastic, and wheels, effectively blocking all those UV rays and environmental factors before they ever get to ruin your brand new baby. FineLab offers a complete line of car care products and ceramic coatings for both the do-it-yourselfer and professional detailers. Did we mention we also have the world's first self-healing coating? Check us out at finelab.com, that's spelled F-E-Y-N-L-A-B, to see the science behind the self-healing. Check out our product catalog and click Contact Us for a free quote from a certified installer in your area. FineLab and Tesla. We were meant for each other. Speaking of which, well, not the Roadster in general here, but of course the speculation's been rampant over the last 24 plus hours on what Tesla was going to announce today, and of course it ran the whole gamut from the Model Y announcement, right? Because we're literally 2 weeks away from the supposed March 15th date, which I don't believe is actually going to happen at this point. They may push it to the end of the month in March, but I figured if they were actually going to follow through on the March 15th, they would have sent out invites and we would know about it. But and everybody on the internet, of course, was speculating, they're going to announce the Model Y on their website. And they said, if you actually read the thing, it says, what was it? The thing you were waiting for the longest time is coming. What have we been waiting for? The $35,000 car. So, so it definitely was not Model Y. The other one, of course, was Autopilot 3 hardware. Of course, it made a brief appearance on Teslafy, which is the website that tracks firmware updates and, basically a fleet of cars and stuff that people sign into because it's a paid service. That kind of came and went. So, again, we don't have confirmation whether these new cars that are coming out actually have the Autopilot 3, but it's definitely coming. So it could still be in the testing stages. What was the other thing that people were talking about? Gosh, I saw everything. I saw all kinds of stuff, floating around. It was just completely ridiculous. And it's just like, okay, well, temper your expectations. I kind of expected the $35,000 car. It just seemed like the wording and the timing and what they've been talking about was just about right. Based on how they kind of worded it, just generally how Tesla operates. I mean, I said, look, it's not going to be a Model Y. That's not how they do announcements. They never do a reveal of a car. It's always a big dog and pony show. So, it's definitely not Model Y. So I'm glad to see. Bonnie was one of the first to actually confirm it, and not confirm it in the sense that she said, I'm calling it, I think it's standard range Model 3.
Right.
And then shortly after that, I got an internal email from someone at Tesla basically confirming that that's what was going to happen. Of course, Electric had it too. So basically, that's essentially what happened. Let's see here. What else? Oh, God, there's just so much to go over. It's just like, where do we begin? I'm just curious to see if anything else has changed on the Model S. And let
me ask this question. Let's actually pivot the show this way.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most game-changing announcement from today?
Oh, yes, we definitely have to talk about this. Are you? Oh, wait. Maybe I'm not on the same page. Are you talking about the shift to online sales? We want to get back into
Well,
that?
no, I mean that right. I'm just saying in terms of your own, like for both of you gentlemen. Like I mean, I sort of alluded in the beginning what my thought was the pros and cons of today's announcement overall. But I'm just curious, like in terms of this. I mean, this changes so many things for Tesla and for the EV market as a whole. And one of the questions that was asked on Twitter, and this is asked of all of us, but I know Ian was sort of targeted at this, was how do we see this changing EVs down the line, not just for Tesla? And my overall thought is this is great for the EV market as a whole. Because for one, it tells all the naysayers who thought Tesla could never do it, but we finally did it.
Yes.
And not only that, look, it took longer than expected. I will grant people that, but it certainly was announced in 2019 sooner than most people expected it to be announced this year. Many of us thought that we'd see the standard range vehicle come to market in the summer, not even now before the spring equinox. The second thing is in terms of having the viability. The more cars we get in the road, the more people are buying the EV market, and we're seeing more announcements from manufacturers like Audi, Mercedes-Benz, Volvo, and others. I mean, we're going to talk tonight about the Polestar 2.
Yeah, let's talk
we'll
about
have
that
to table that for another day. But the whole idea is that even if it is, and I use this term very respectfully, if it is an inferior product of the Model 3, it still gives people another option for looking for electric cars. And when you have auto manufacturers acknowledging, because this also is news this week where Volvo acknowledges like the EV market, if we were to start producing EV cars, we're trying to be judicious in how we do it because we know it's going to affect our ICE car sales. Mm-hmm. So all of this is really great for the market as a whole. So that to me, the biggest thing today is how this car is now going to revolutionize the way we think about the auto manufacturing industry, especially when it comes to electric cars on the road. That's my impact from today's news. But I'm curious what you two think overall about how eventful this is and what one thing is your takeaway from the big day.
How unfortunate for Volvo to have been usurped by this news today after releasing the Polestar.
The first thing that went through my mind when I saw this is like, oh, the poor Volvo people. They had such a nice launch event yesterday and like, whoop, easy come.
Easy go. Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, and we'll talk about the Volvo another day, I guess, because this is, just not going to be the week for it. Yeah, there is. But that, to me, they're all encouraging signs. I was very excited to see the launch of the Polestar 2. Like I've said many times publicly on Twitter, I'm not down with anybody who's trashing other brands of EVs, to try and put Tesla on a pedestal. Not my game. Like unfollow me if it's yours, because I don't want to know from you. To me, it's too critical. We need every single manufacturer on board like yesterday. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to promote anybody's EV. If it's worth 10 cents, I will at least find something decent to say about it. I think there's a lot good we can say about Polestar. But coming back to our fave brand, of course, this is huge news. The fact that, the promised car is here. I think there's no question this is like the biggest move yet into the acceleration of sustainable transport. This car is going to have legs. It's going to sell for years and years and years. As many of them as they can mint out, they will sell of this car. And Model Y is just going to take it to a whole new level. So we're on the road. There's no turning back now. I'm just so positive and optimistic. I don't even want to make one bad reference to the shorts tonight. Want to.
That's okay. I'll do it for you. Look.
Okay, you go for it, Trevor. Boom. There you go. Your shorts. Yeah.
Yes.
Here, baby.
Yes.
If it's any consolation, I'm in Florida. I'm wearing shorts.
That's no consolation at all. Okay, it's still like minus a million.
It's hard for me to follow on what's going on with the shorts and stuff because I have them all blocked. I just want them in their own little echo chamber and stuff. But I can just imagine what's going through their minds. Like, okay, well, yeah, all right, they finally did this thing. Like, what can we diss this time? Like, what can we go find? To keep dissing on this whole thing. So
I'll tell you what it's going to be. It's like, oh, look, they had to close down all of their stores. This is clear sign they're going bankrupt.
Of course.
They can't afford the stores anymore.
And there's no demand for the higher-end car, so now they have to sell the low-end car.
Don't worry.
Don't listen to those guys. They're out to lunch. That's for darn sure. But yes, absolutely. I'm very glad that finally Tesla. I mean, it's obvious that they've been working very hard to get to this point, and they wanted to get to this point, but they just couldn't because of externalities beyond their control. I think in this case, And we'll have to talk about it maybe a little bit more here about the fact that they're closing the stores, tightening their belts even more to try and do this as much as possible. And this is part of the bittersweet thing after this whole announcement, because obviously with the advent of the standard range Model 3, I was all over it. And then I read the blog post and I went, oh no, what's going to happen to all these employees? So that was the down part for me. And let's face it, I'm with you, Eric. I mean, I have a lot of friends, of course, that work at Tesla, even here in Toronto, and I know them, and they've been all very excellent people. But yeah, I fear for what's going to happen with them. Now, I understand Tesla's modus on this because people are expensive. It is what it is. I understand at the very beginning when George Blankenship, now for those of you who might be joining in who don't know, don't have a lot of history with Tesla, Elon had hired someone from Apple. His name is George Blankenship. He was responsible, along with Steve Jobs, for creating all of the Apple stores. When he joined Tesla, he brought all that experience with him, and they created all the galleries, and that's what you see today. That whole idea is still pervasive today. He was largely responsible for that. He was a very, very energetic, very charismatic person. I miss him dearly. He was such a great guy. I highly encourage you, if you have a chance, just go on YouTube and search for old Tesla videos. You'll see him. He's a great guy. Oh, specifically, I think if you watch the first Model 3 or Model S deliveries in 2012, they did a little dog and pony show at the factory and stuff. You'll see George. He's the guy with the glasses talking and stuff. So anyways, enough about that. But the bottom line here is when Tesla first started, they needed to do the gallery thing because obviously without franchise dealers and stuff taking that baton, they had to create the whole experience themselves. And that served them exceptionally well up until now to get the word out. But now, I mean, we've got, 500,000 cars or more on the road now. We got rolling billboards. We had the referral program that was doing wonders for it. Now we don't need it anymore, because you got so many people driving the cars. And I just had a conversation with a friend of mine today who, when he called, he says, what's with the stores closing? And I said, well, you're giving people and friends rides, aren't you? And he says, yeah. I said, well, we're the salespeople. So in some ways, it's like, okay, maybe they don't need the showrooms quite as much. Now, as part of their incentive, if you will, for the people that can't do a test drive, because obviously when they close some of these stores, you won't be able to do a test drive. Now they have the guarantee of 7 days and 1,000 miles. No questions asked, return it. So I think there's a vote of confidence there. I don't think anybody in their right mind would want to return one of these cars after driving it. But I can see them, making this hard decision. It's like, well, do we really need this when we don't have a demand problem? We have a production problem, and we're largely sorting that out. And now that they have a product mix that are going to be fleshed out, the Model Y, the semi-truck, the Roadster, the Tesla Semi, and who knows what else they got up their sleeve, maybe the stores, they don't need as many stores. Now, they said that they're not closing all of them. They just said most of them, the high traffic areas. I would expect probably the higher end malls, probably the best place to keep them. Shut down maybe some of the showrooms and the service centers. I don't know what their plans are, but
yeah,
that was the down part for me. I really feel bad for this, and I was hoping, we get so used to something, and then when they go change something, especially this big, it's like, ugh. And this is going to be talked about for weeks on end, I think.
Well, we were talking before the show, and I took a look, and if those of you guys who tend to look for Tesla jobs on their careers page,
yeah.
You cannot find a retail showroom job in all of North America on their site. The only positions I could find were somewhere in I think South America, but they were somewhere like outside of the U.S. But it is something that it's not to be taken lightly. And again, my hope is that these folks can find a new role within Tesla. I mean, Tesla could very well even create certain positions that don't exist yet as part of this transition period. And look, I don't want it to be fodder for those who think that, oh, this is trouble for Tesla's future. You cannot have the announcement that there was made today that's going to essentially open the floodgates for production. I mean, I would love to know in the next 24 hours how many orders Tesla received.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean? Like it could be those who had the reservations and those who just were waiting for the car like this to go, oh my God, I got to get it now. And we might start seeing, like, by tomorrow night this time, the delivery period might go from 2 to 4 weeks to 3 to 6. I mean, or 4 to 8. I mean, we don't know.
Well, let's put it this way. They've registered.
Demand is there.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. They have registered 300,000-ish VINs. Now, not all the cars have been produced, but they're pretty close. They've started deliveries in China, of course, and Europe. We know that 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, they had 450,000 of these reserved. Now, Tesla has since said that most of the cars that they're selling now are not people who have reservations. These are just walk-ins.
Right.
So obviously, they still have a backlog of cars.
Real quick, some breaking news here. Somebody had asked Elon, how long is this Model 3 price lasting for? Elon's response to this user, whose name is Dignity, take it for what you will, was no reductions from here. So these prices are the lowest prices we're going to see for the vehicle.
Yeah, well, they can't. The margins are not going to allow them. Now, it's not predicated on the fact that they couldn't design a car in the future to lower costs even further. It's just right now they don't have any public
This car.
This car, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They don't have any public
This
plans
car.
that we know of.
Yeah.
At this point. Now, I don't think Tesla has been, has been wanted to get into the market at the low end. Tesla is perfectly happy, it seems, to cede the low end market to other manufacturers. Again, they're very much like Apple. They're not interested in the low end market. They're after margins, and they understand that you have to go on the high end to get that kind of thing. So, if you're looking for a cheaper EV, a Tesla is certainly not it. There's lots of great alternatives out there, the Kia Niro and the Kona. And,
you can get a Model 3 diecast for under $300.
$250. Speaking of which, yes, we should mention that. Maybe I can pull it up here for people to see this thing. For those of you who don't know, and we've talked about it maybe briefly, I'm just going to bring up on the Tesla website here. Sorry about that. I apologize for the for the segue here.
This really is an impromptu show. We're not working on any kind of script like we normally do.
Okay, so I know there's been some confusion and stuff because I did tweet this out today that Tesla has released Model 3 die-cast models. Now, some people on the internet were saying, wait a second, isn't that the die-cast model I was supposed to get when I got my Model 3 when I stand in line? I said, no, that's the little guy. These ones are big. These are high quality ones. I've seen the one personally. The Model X one is fantabulous. So, and this thing is it's, I won't say 12 inches. It's about 10 inches long, something like that. So these are good size. They're available on the Tesla website. Just go to shop.tesla.com. They're $250 US. They're available in most of the colors. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, all the colors of the Model 3. Highly detailed.
Except for one. There's no silver.
Black? No, there's black, blue.
They're available in the current
colors. Yes,
for a Model 3.
Yes.
People were like, wait, where's the metallic silver?
Yes,
I know.
And someone was asking. I think Jay was asking. I want to get one of the red ones, but it doesn't have a white interior. I said, just take it apart and paint it. Not the end of the world. So
yes, and they even have, these are actually, I will say, they say, it has the 20-inch, sport wheels. No, these are full performance cars. I saw the pedals. I tweeted that out today. They actually have the famous.
Let's scroll down. Yes. You're
that
absolutely
was
right.
Until about 4 hours ago, that was the news of the week.
There you go.
Yes, it was. There you go. Yeah,
you can see the little pedals down in there. No,
yeah.
highly detailed.
Yeah, great detail.
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you, Ryan McCaffrey, once again, for those wonderful pedals.
Yes. And the red brake calipers.
Hold on, though. I do wonder, is the interior Alcantara on the headliner?
Oh, here we go. It is a light-colored hell.
I want to know if it's got premium sound.
No, listen. I'm one of those. I'm happy
even the
with
windows
my car.
are frameless.
I don't mind it. It's fine.
Look. Even the windows are frameless on this thing.
Are they? I didn't notice.
Yeah, look at this.
You're right.
Yeah.
Look at that. They don't go down, but they're frameless. They even got the little struts here on the lift gate in the back and everything, even on the front.
Now, there's one of us geeks out there that's going to power this thing and enable summon on it. You just know that's going to happen, right?
Hey, I highly encourage everybody to take a look at these. Yeah. I'm kind of teetering whether I should buy the one for the Model X because it's super detailed. I actually held it in my hands at the Tesla barbecue last year. It was beautiful. Beautiful.
I'm astonished you don't have it.
Well, it wasn't on the website for the longest time.
It's not a Lego.
Yeah, it wasn't on the website for the longest time. And when I saw it in person last year, I was like, "Ooh, that's nice." But they only had the one I saw was the midnight silver one. It was nice. They have a white one now too, but it has the white interior. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know how far away is my birthday next month?
Legos. How's your Bugatti coming along?
My Bugatti is working along. I mean, I could do a whole show just on the Bugatti. It's a beautiful piece of equipment. I'm still working on it. I'm taking my time. It's got 3,600 pieces in it, but beautiful piece of engineering. If you ever get a chance, Check it out. It's beautiful. I actually got to see the full-size Lego Bugatti that they had at the auto show, the one and only that they built. So if you Google on YouTube, just go to YouTube and type in Lego Bugatti. If you see the full-size one, that's the one I got to see in person. Very, very impressive.
Nice.
Okay. Anyways, let's get back. Any closing thoughts? Maybe we should take some viewer questions, of course. A lot of this stuff is probably going to be clarifications on what kind of crap went down today, so...
Yeah, let's hit the question list.
Okay, all right. I was just trying to find a couple things here. Obviously, some of the questions, again, are just clarifications. So, let's see here. Jitesh says, when and where can I listen to the podcast? Well, you're listening to it right now, obviously, because by the time we post this, there's your answer. But highly encourage you visit our YouTube channel, or you can subscribe to it in any one of your podcast players of choice, whatever device you have. All right. Let's see here. Andy Beck says, I know Elon knows the concerns from people who paid $5,000 for EAP but want FSD. I'm just curious as to what they're going to do to make this right. When I bought mine last year, there wasn't even an option for FSD. I'm kind of feeling like 5K EAP people are getting a raw deal. Well, again, someone had asked that. We kind of alluded to it sooner. So we're kind of waiting for full disclosure on that, what Tesla's going to do. But as we mentioned before, they typically tend to do the right thing for people within a short period of time to make it right. Let's see here. Cap asks, is the standard battery going to have all-wheel drive capabilities in the future? I only need the standard battery, but I also need the all-wheel drive for winters. I'd like to. I also prefer the premium interior. I wonder how freely Tesla is going to let people personalize the Model 3. I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied on that one. Well, as we know right now, what Tesla's put into the configurator is what's available. I have to say, I'm actually rather surprised at the number of variations they have on the drive and the battery sizes as it is right now. I never expected to see this many choices. The days of a la carte are kind of gone on some of the other things. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do all-wheel drive with the standard, but anything is possible in the future. Mm-hmm. Maybe when, I don't know, maybe next year. The thing with Tesla you have to remember is that, and we've talked about this before on the show.
Air suspension.
The air suspension, but other people have said, well, how come I can buy this car and it has this, and this, but the Tesla Model 3 doesn't? Well, they have to add these features as they go. There's some planned obsolescence of sorts. Just a reminder, when the Model S first came out, it didn't have auto-folding mirrors. It didn't have parking sensors. These things were added.
It didn't have a center console.
Exactly. It didn't have all-wheel drive, no autopilot. These are things that were added later on. So you have to be patient. If there's something that you're waiting for, maybe you can wait. But if there's something you see, and we've said it before, buy it now, because what Tesla giveth, Tesla can taketh. So I'm hopeful that they will do something like that.
Metallic silver.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, if you're looking for something like that, just pay attention. But right now, it is, those are your choices. Let me see here. Would a Jitesh again asks, would a standard range with cloth interior be lighter and thus faster or have better mileage? You know what? That's an interesting question, because based on the Polestar introduction yesterday, if you happen to read it, they did make mention of their interiors being lighter by going to a vegan interior, and some, they have some cloths and some different variances. So yes, there are weights attributed to the interior finishes. How much, we don't know, because Tesla doesn't disclose that information. So
there's no way it would be significant enough to affect the performance.
Right, and not only that, it's gonna. I mean, you could also counter that weight you're losing on the lighter car by having a heavier driver. Like, I don't. It's sort of.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're assuming the driver's a constant, but I mean, real leather opposed to the vegan leather, that's substantial. I mean, leather is heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, pick up your windbreaker and compare it to your leather jacket. There's substantial. Multiply that by the seating area of the car. It's still, we're talking dozens of pounds perhaps, but it might be measurable. But there's no way the vegan stuff is so light compared to a fabric. I don't think that would be enough to affect the performance numbers.
Yeah. Not too many questions, and most of it's just kind of repetition of what we've already covered here. There's one here by Tom Pattison. He says, Trev, standard plus, and medium range are all the same weight on the website. Does that mean anything? That's a really good question. Typically with Tesla, when they change the battery sizes, they remove cells. So if you have a full battery pack and they want to get the size down, they typically remove cells. How much of a weight difference depends on how many cells they actually pull out. In the case of, say, a higher end car, if they were going to do a software limit, say on a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, well, that's a software limit. The cells are still present, so the weights would largely be the same. And that's a very good question. I don't know what the answer is to this at this point. I would suspect at this point that there are some cells that are coming out, but because of some other changes, with the changes of the console, maybe some of the materials and stuff, it kind of offsets. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but it is a very good question. And but at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters all that much.
I'm going to posit that that's a typo, because the difference between the battery pack for the standard and the mid-range is enough that it would be, 100 pounds at least, 200, something measurable. I don't think the differences in the interior account for it. I got to think that maybe they haven't updated the data on the standard as far as that goes.
Could be.
The one thing I will tell you but one thing that struck me right away when I saw this new stuff is when you go to what's the semi-premium interior, what are they calling that slight upgrade?
Premium Plus.
Premium.
Thank you. The Premium Plus interior. You are getting a 9% boost in range, right?
Yeah, so it's 240 miles as opposed to 220. So yeah, it's 10%ish.
Right. Well, that's
partial premium interior actually is what they call it. Sorry.
So maybe, because everyone was saying, well, like, is the standard range going to be an MR with a software lock on the upper part of the battery? And we know that there's a big enough difference that there's no way they're going to absorb the cost on that and just roll the car out for 35 Gs when they have a $40,000 worth of car battery in it. But is that now the case with this small difference when you go to the partial premium, or what is it called? My God, I can't get
partial
this straight.
Premium.
It is. I finally got it right. Yay! But
we're all learning this for the first time today. We're gonna get it wrong.
Because otherwise, the only possible thing going on here is there's actually 4 sizes of batteries, and I got to tell you, that sounds like a lot to manage in production.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and wear my tinfoil hat and say maybe it's possible that the standard range does have a software lock on it, and this partial premium is really what's going on. And then that would make it close enough in weight to the mid-range, add your interior differences, and I'm starting to make sense of the whole thing. I don't know. I'm just going to float that one. I have nothing scientific to go on here, people.
We don't either. All right. That's it. All right, let's go back to Twitter here, and we'll just pull up another question. At the very end of the list here, I have someone named Deep D. He says, what do you think about the profitability of the base Model 3? I don't know if you guys can read that or not, but he's asking about the profitability. Now, I don't have inside information on this. Typically, whenever they release a new car, margins are relatively low on these things until production kind of ramps up and stuff. Look, Tesla is not like other car companies in this sense. They would not be putting out this car if they were not making money on it. How much is unknown at this point. I would suspect the margins on this car, at least to start with, are probably in the 15% range. I think they're trying to get to
I was
at least
say
20.
somewhere a little lower than 20.
Yeah. So probably somewhere in there, which is still doable. Again, you can make it up in volume at least, short term until you get your costs and check for the other stuff. So there's no doubt that they're profitable on this car. It's just how much, and is it enough to keep them going for some time? And I do believe it is. Now, Tesla does have some bills to pay. They do have that $920 million, but that's cash in the bank. They already have that and stuff.
And they have the cash. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we may have some suspicion on how they're doing when the call comes in early April for quarter one.
Yeah.
On how they do, because we're now going to have a month's worth of figures for this new Model 3. But I think the true numbers are going to really show once we have a full quarter, which we'll see after Q2. So probably in the July timeframe is when we'll get that call for quarter two's investor numbers. I think that's when we'll really start to see how probably. But we're still going to see in the next 4 weeks how this all does. And like I mentioned earlier, we don't know what their figures are in terms of online orders. I mean, we knew when the car was announced March 31st of 2016, they announced just that day how many orders they had at the reveal that night. It would not surprise me in the very least if they surpass that number in orders this week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Having having worked at the store, there were a ton of people going, "When's the $35,000 car coming? When's the standard range coming? I'm waiting for that car. It's one I can afford and so forth." Like, I want to trade in my Honda Accord. Like, okay, I get it, but like this could now be the week, especially with people trying to take advantage of the tax credit before it reduces again in June or July rather.
Yeah. I will be very interested to see what the numbers are for Q2.
It's going to be so amazing.
All right. I want to go back to Twitter here and actually went back to your tweet that you put out this morning, Eric, because you kind of beat me to it on Thursdays. So
you're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Let's jump back in here. A couple of funny ones here. A gentleman named Steve, he says, is it pronounced Putin or Poutine? It's pronounced Poutine.
It's Poutine.
Poutine, that's
Poutine
exactly
is the correct pronunciation. Yeah,
Poutine.
well, it's just how the French pronounce it. Yes, Poutine. It sounds like Poutin, but that's something else. I always tell my wife, she says, "I want some poutine." I said, "I'll show you poutine. I'll take you around back behind the barn." It's a family show. It's a family show. Sorry. That's something else. That's something else. All right. Going back here, here's another one. This one I think is directed at you, Eric. Steve asks, favorite brand of ketchup chips?
It would have to be Lay's.
Lay's. Well, it's the only ones you've had so far.
I've tried the Pringles.
Yeah,
they're a different flavor. They're a different flavor of chips some years ago. I used to like just the good old fashioned regular Pringles. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Lay's ketchup chips, and I am envious those of you who live in Canada to have those on a day-to-day basis. I know I would not lose weight if I went to Canada. I'd be plumping up for those winter months.
DJ Harbaugh came up to my place last weekend. He's Tesla Tidbits, so you should follow him on Twitter and listen to his podcast on YouTube.
I saw his secret stash.
I gave him a tin of ketchup Pringles because he'd never seen them, and the Lay's, and he said, by the time I got to the first supercharger, I destroyed that can.
I'm telling you, man. When I was a kid, this is a funny story. When I was a kid, I'd get home from school and my mom she'd go to the grocery store, and on occasion there'd be like a new can of Pringles in the cabinet. So what I would do is I would sit down in front of the TV, the tele, as some of you call it. But I'd sit down in front of the TV, I'd pop the can open, and I would start eating it for whatever the first half-hour kids show was. By the time that show was done, the chips went away. Rarely was there even 10 chips left. So... yeah, serving size be damned.
My gosh, there's so much in here. What else can I answer here? Looks like you had
and this all came out before the show.
Yeah, I know. So, and you had a really good conversation. It looks like while he was just bombarding you with questions. Walt Corey, a little bit later down here in the thread, he says EAP is currently feature complete now. Is that a fair read? So I'm just kind of going back here, trying to understand where he was getting at. EAP is not exactly feature complete yet. Let's talk about what Elon had said. They're expecting to have full self-driving feature complete by the end of this year. However, that's just the features. I mean, there's edge cases that they have to deal with, of course, and the edge cases are the hard stuff. The stuff on the highways is largely solved for the most part. It's all the weird edge case stuff that they have to deal with, which is why the street driving thing has been pushed off for so long, because it's so much more difficult. You got so much more things going on. Of course, it precipitates the need of a more performance computer, of course, which is, of course, what they're working towards. And then you have the issue of legislation, because the legislators want proof before they approve of any of this stuff. We're largely... we're kind of rubbing up against level 3 now. When you get to 4 and 5, this is a different, it's an order of magnitude or whatever Elon calls it, so much more difficult. Because as he said in the ARC podcast, if you listen to it, he makes a very good point of saying, it's just like, how many March of 9s do you need it to be reliable? Before legislation says, yes, you can turn it on. I mean, we're not at the point where you can just pack your bag, sit in the back, and take a nap. That's not going to happen for quite some time, because they got to get this stuff sorted out. Again, we don't have any proof of what Tesla's been working on behind the scenes, because in California, most of the self-driving companies that are working on their stuff are required by law to report their disengagement, something Tesla doesn't do. Now, you understand why they don't, because they don't operate necessarily a private fleet doing this stuff. They use our fleet, the cars that we own, to look at those disengagements. So I don't know if there's any legal reason for them to have to disclose that stuff. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know all this stuff. But it's not to say that they aren't testing full self-driving in a limited fleet. We do know that Tesla had invited a bunch of employees and gave them full self-driving for free if they were to test it in their cars. Don't know how that program is going, but I can assure you that they are getting data out of that. As far as how they're going, we don't know. So it's coming along. It's just going to take a little while. Enhanced Autopilot 2 that we have right now took the better part over a year anyways to get at least caught up with hardware 1. Now we've certainly surpassed it now. Who knows what version 3 is going to bring?
Let me just jump in though and say that during the ARK Invest podcast, Elon did say that the sleeping in the back seat scenario would be possible by the end of next year. That was his estimate. And I know Elon years, we always have to calculate, but still, he sounded much more confident in his time frame than he has in a while in this stuff.
Yeah.
Now, he says, of course, regulators is a whole different thing, but the actual hardware and software and everything else being able to do it, he's saying end of 2020.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of going through this thread here to see if there's anything else. All of this stuff happened late here in the day, so I didn't have a lot of time to prep for some of these questions, obviously. So I apologize if you guys asked questions, we didn't get to it. I'm really sorry. We just had so much to go on and stuff. We always want to answer viewer and listener questions as often as possible on the podcast, and towards, it's one of our favorite things to do, but unfortunately we can't get to absolutely every one of them. Let's see here. If there's anything else that sticks out right now, I can't see anything right now. Is there any? You guys want to throw anything else before we close off on the show here? Because it's coming up.
One of the comments, I don't like to be negative, but I like to be fair, and I like to at least try and put some balance on it. One of the comments, and I apologize for not getting the Twitter handle of the gentleman who brought it up, was that we're a little bit surprised to see that there's no heated seats on the standard base interior.
Did I miss that?
Yeah, it was there. Somebody pointed that out, and because it only appears in the upgrade premium, partial premium. Damn it, I lost it.
That's okay.
Partial premium.
Yes.
Partial premium.
There we go. That is a detail,
and that's only for the front. That's only for the front seats too.
It's just for the front seats.
Correct.
Yes.
So if you infer the reverse, it means that if you go for the standard interior, you don't get any heated seats at all. And I got to say, I'm a little surprised because a $14,000 base level trim Hyundai Accent comes with heated front seats. So I thought that's the only thing I'm going to come out and say was a bit of a miss.
Hyundai is one of the, you have to remember, Hyundai/Kia is one of those companies that have a knack or a habit of taking what were considered to be higher end features on premium cars and bringing them down to the masses. They were one of the first to take things like folding mirrors. That was typically BMW, Mercedes territory, and they bring it down and put it in the Rio, for crying out loud. Yeah. So things like heated seats, it doesn't cost that much. This is just a Tesla cost cutting thing. It's just a separation thing that they're doing. But I am surprised, although the source that gave me the information a couple weeks ago about the interior made no mention of the heated front seats. I just assumed that they probably would be, but now that they're not there, well, there you go. There's your answer. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm a little disappointed not to see that at least. And Tesla is generally not in the habit of doing anything special for their cars for different markets. So, in Canada,
No, I don't think we'll get it.
No, they're generally the same. I mean, they don't even offer a cold weather package anymore as a separate thing on the high-end cars. It's part of the premium package. So they kind of largely do the same thing for these cars. So,
now I will add to that, Ian. Let's think about some of the cars today. What is considered standard that at one point was not. I mean, the glass roof is now standard on the Model 3, regardless of trim. Where the Model S, used to be that they had a solid roof and the glass roof was an option. So it's possible that over time, as the car becomes in greater production numbers, as things become more affordable, as other cars come to bear fruit in the market per se, it's possible that someday they will add the heated seats as a standard feature for the front driver and passenger, and then eventually have other options later on. So I'm sort of with you, especially if you live in a colder climate. So for those of you who live in the northern part of the U.S. or live in Canada, my condolences if you're getting the standard car without heated seats.
How about a car in Florida without air conditioning?
Yeah.
Well, you know what, though? I remember, oh, my God, years ago, there was one of my mom's late relatives. She had I want to say it was a Toyota Tercel.
Okay.
And they had that car with no AC and no radio.
Oh, radio?
Man.
No radio. Imagine there was a long time ago, where AC and AM/FM radio were options.
No, you're
Now-
talking to a
now-
kid who grew up, in the 60s and 70s. I was so amazed the first time we went to Florida and rented a Pinto. Yes, we rented a Pinto.
Oh,
you could back in
dangerous
the day.
living, man.
And
On
it
purpose?
had AC. Yes, and it actually had air conditioning. I was fascinated because, my parents would not splurge for air conditioning up here. That was strictly for rich people in the
Yeah.
70s. You did not buy air conditioning in Canada. But
Yeah.
yes, we rented a Pinto that had AC. And of course, you switched it on. The car lost about 20 miles an hour speed on the highway. But cold air came out of the vents. I thought this was the most fascinating technology.
My father had a 60, I think it was a 67 Beetle, and it had no AC in there whatsoever. So, you'd sort of take things for granted when you have them nowadays. But those comfort features,
Yeah.
Look, if you spend $2,000, you're getting, Tesla's going to give you enough options to go to the partial premium for $2,000. We first heard earlier today it was $2,500. Now it's actually in $2,000.
Yes, $2,000.
So that's a good series of things to get for $2,000 more.
No, I agree, and I think that clearly is one of their incentives is to get people to bump up to.
Yeah.
They have a real good knack of getting you to spend a little bit more.
They know exactly where to go to do it. No. That was it. But I will say one last thing in defense for all of you out there who are disappointed to hear this. Preheating in any Tesla is so astonishingly effective that honestly, I don't think you'll miss it. There's occasional times where I accidentally turn my seat heater off when I'm goofing with all the buttons preheating the car. It doesn't make much difference because if it's been heating for 20 minutes, you get in there, I have to undress. It's like a bloody sauna in the car. This thing heats like crazy. And the fact that it's fabric seats, it's really not a big deal. With the vegan leather, it's more important. But with a fabric seat, if you heat the car up for 10 or 15 minutes, you're not really going to notice. I think
and it cools down almost twice as fast.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen my car go from 130 degrees inside the cabin to a balmy 72 within 5 minutes.
No, the climate system in this car is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's super efficient.
It's just
I
the
think
battery takes longer to heat up. that's all.
Especially if your car is charging. If you do it while your car is charging, there's no energy loss whatsoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's that. Let's take solace in that.
Yeah, there is a down point though. Of course, Model 3 doesn't have a dedicated battery heater, so it takes longer for the battery to warm up. So if you're cold, if you cold soak your battery and stuff, you gotta have to preheat a little longer. Make sure you run that the heater on full blast. All right, boys. I think this is the end of it. We've beaten this horse to death. I'm sure we'll have more to say next week when we have more information.
gosh.
I'd love to talk about the Polestar next week, but we have to wind it out and finish this up.
Okay.
So, Ian, where can people find you if they want to have a chit chat with you on the internet?
Well, on Twitter, just my name, at Ian Pavelko. You'll see the handle come up as Mad Hungarian, but it's at Ian Pavelko. You can find me at Model 3 Owners Club Forum. Mad Hungarian is the handle there. If you have any questions about wheels, tires, or anything technically geeky, I'd be happy to help you out there. And then finally, Teespring, TeeSpring.com. You can find the Mad Hungarian Evolveware. Just search for Mad Hungarian or Evolveware, the line of shirts featured. And none of us are wearing one today. Are you wearing one, Mr. Page?
No, I'm actually wearing my Silicon Valley Tesla Owners Club shirt today. I'm an honorary
we're all
member.
slacking off today. That's okay.
Well, I did
But
drink my
anyway,
coffee this morning out of your mug, so I am.
out of the mug. A good man.
Yes,
All
so
right,
we're
there
all
we go.
set. Yes, thank you for that. Eric, where can people find you on the internet if they want to have a chit chat with you?
Sure. You guys can find me on Twitter at the handle ECFix. That is ECFIX. My thanks to those new followers. And as always, thank you to our sponsors of this wonderful program. Without them, we could not bring you this fun, awesome stuff like we talked about today, which, Diecast Cars was all the news today. That's all we really had to offer.
That was it, eh? Yeah.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. And last but not least, myself, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm very active there. The handle's at Model 3 Owners. Please go to the Model 3 Owners Club forum.com. That is absolutely the best place to talk about all things Model 3. We have a vibrant community on there. Please give some business to our sponsors. Those guys really do great work and stuff. It's all well organized on there. We are preparing for Model Y, so whenever that happens, we have some forums already built up for that to accept your speculation and what your wishes and wants are on the Model Y, so we're looking forward to that. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Evanex, Duliban Insurance, of course, and Fine Lab Ceramic Coatings. Give those guys some business. They really make things go. Lastly, big thanks to our Patreon sponsors. You can find find them at patreon.com/Model 3 Owners Club. I might have to take some money out and maybe buy one of them diecast cars. No, I'm just kidding. It's more of the camera. It's the camera purchase plan that pays for these cameras and podcast.
If you're
software.
watching this on YouTube, you saw the goofs that Trevor's having before. We're still trying to figure this stuff out because things cost money.
That was my camera battery, and I'm going to fix that. Anyways, that's the end of the show. Thanks for watching, folks, and don't forget to tune in next time when we have some more stuff to talk about. Thanks a lot, and good night.